All right, guys, we are all set up and we are ready for another Mystery Monday video.
My squad of 15 vehicles.
That's an ad. I can't have ads on my videos because I don't get paid for them, so we ain't gonna listen to that. We're gonna skip over that for you guys. Anyway, so there's my dog's ear. Welcome to the video. If you are new here, thank you for stopping by. We do a Mystery Monday video every single week. The reason I said we is because I usually do these videos with my girlfriend. She is busy right now taking her sister home. We had a little bit of a sleepover yesterday and she stayed here. She's taking her home right now. So I wanted to go ahead and get this video out for you guys. So that's why I am flying solo today. But I will definitely be back with Michelle for the next Mystery Monday video. So go ahead, check out our other ones. Subscribe if you like the content. We're going to be doing them every single week. All right, so that's the formalities out of the way. Let's go ahead and jump into this disappearance case. I will have Bella's video linked down in the description. I think I might have forgot to add it to my last video, but I will definitely remember to add it to this one. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into the video.
Welcome back to another episode of Mystery Monday, or welcome to Mystery Mondays if you guys have never seen one before. I do every Monday upload a video about unsolved mysteries, whether they are murders or missing people. I have an entire playlist of them which I will link below if you do want to see any more. Now that that is out of the way, let's go ahead and get into this week's mystery. So today we are going to talk about the disappearance of Laura Bible and Ashley Freeman, who disappeared on December the 30th in 1999 from Welch, Oklahoma. And this case is really weird and really interesting, so let's go ahead and get into it. So on the 29th of December, Ashley was celebrating her 16th birthday at home with her mum Kathy, her dad Danny, her best friend Laura Bible, and her boyfriend Jeremy Hurst. So Jeremy, Ashley's boyfriend, ended up leaving at about 9:30 p.m. that night, and then sometime between when Jeremy left and early the next morning on the 30th, the mobile home of the Freemans went up in flames. At 5:30 a.m. on the 30th of December, a concerned neighbor, ended up calling the fire department. After the fire was put out, the police arrived at the scene to canvass the area, and in doing so, they found the body of Kathy Freeman. She had been shot in the head in close range with a shotgun before the fire started. None of the bodies of Danny, Laura, or Ashley were found, and so the police began to theorize that Danny had shot his wife and then kidnapped the two girls. Police then went ahead and just focused all of their efforts within, before 24 hours was even up, literally as soon as they got to the crime scene, probably within 30 minutes of getting to the crime scene, they decided to focus all of their energy on this theory, investigating this theory and investigating Danny. Okay, now get this, follow along pretty closely because I don't want anyone to get confused. At the time of these murders and disappearances, Danny, the Freemans, were actually in kind of like a feud or a dispute with the police department. Now this is because Danny's son Shane had been shot by one of the Craig County Sheriff's Department police because he stole a car. And then just before the disappearance murders took place, Danny was actually planning on filing a wrongful death lawsuit against the Craig County Sheriff's Office. Danny even told his brother Dwayne that if anything were to happen to Danny, that he should look into the sheriff's office because they were trying to intimidate him, and he thought that they would likely be the ones to have something to do with it. According to Dwayne, the sheriff's department told Danny that they could do anything they wanted with him and he couldn't do anything about it. Now, the reason that this is relevant is because the next morning, literally 24 hours after the crime took place, after police got there and investigated, they opened the crime scene to the public. Laura, hearing the news.
Time out. Less than 24 hours, they opened the crime scene to the public? First of all, in a murder case, why would you open the crime scene to the public until maybe even after the trial or something like that? Why does it have to be open to the public in general? I mean, I don't understand that. Two, I hate, and this is a thing that I've learned about in a lot of my political science classes and a lot of like criminology classes that I took. I have a minor in criminology and sociology. In a lot of the classes that I took, I learned how easy it is for cops to get tunnel vision when they think they know what happened about something, or when they want to think they know what happened about something. And it's so easy for cops and detectives and any law enforcement in general, or even lawyers, to get this tunnel vision where they say, I know this person did it, and ignore any other evidence at all that does not support that theory. And that is why I think that's a huge reason why so many cases go unsolved in the United States and all over the world, because we as humans want to think that we have like instincts that tell us, oh, this 100% happened. Like in this case, okay, yeah, hey, normally it's the husband is not found at the scene and the wife is dead and the kids are missing. Obviously it's the husband. Let's get all of our evidence to think it's the husband. And then let's say if there was some other evidence that maybe, oh, hey, we found a call on Danny's phone, a voicemail on Danny's phone that was from a gang member, and he said that he was going to kill his wife and kids. They would probably, in full honesty, probably ignore that and say, Danny must have got freaked out by that call and tried to take his kids, and his wife didn't want to, so he killed his wife and then took the kids, or something like that. Like, police, they get so fixated on busting someone, getting someone put in jail, getting something to blame for that crime, that they don't follow the evidence the way that it should be followed a lot of times. And I know I'm saying that like from an outside view, so it's like, what the hell do you know, kid, type of thing. But at the same time, I've learned so much about cops that have ignored evidence that was right in front of their face, and that anyone thinking logically would have been able to trace to someone who it turns out that person actually did it. But because the cop is thinking somebody else did it, and they want to think that that person did it, and they want all the evidence to lead to that person to get a conviction, they will turn blind eyes to some evidence that leads somewhere else. And in some cases, police have even thrown away evidence that might lead to someone else, just to try and stay on their tunnel vision and get that person that they think it was convicted. So there's really a lot to talk about there and a lot to unpack there. I've literally had classes just on the police work with evidence, and the way that they treat evidence and the way that they go about solving cases. Literally had entire classes, entire semesters about this stuff, and it's really, really, really interesting to kind of get into a police officer's head, especially once they've been a police officer for a while and they've seen some things, and they say, oh, hey, I know, like my intuition, my gut says that this is the person that did it. I know I'll find evidence for that person and I'll know that they did it. That's not how policing should work. It should be off the evidence, facts, very logical. Like it's not a feeling type of thing. Sometimes, okay, sure, like if you know 100% like it was the person and you just gotta find the evidence, okay. But at the same time, there's no way you could ever really know 100%. So you gotta just follow the evidence when you're in police work. But unfortunately, that's not always what happens. But I digress. Let's carry on. Seriously, there's a lot that I could talk about just on this one topic alone. So let's go.
Laura Bible's parents ended up showing up after hearing the news, of course. They decided to have a look around, and within 5 minutes of arriving, they found Danny's body, who had also been shot in the head with a shotgun in close range before the fire began. Investigators then decided that they should probably do a better job of investigating the crime scene if some people could just come up and within 5 minutes find this body. So they had a bit more.
They instantly thought that it was Danny, so they didn't even look for his body. They didn't investigate the crime scene the way that it should have been investigated, with an open mind, thinking, hey, he's dead. I mean, his wife is dead. Let's continue to look around this crime scene and see if we can find any other family members. They said, the wife's dead, kids are missing, husband must have done it. No, it turns out wife's dead, husband's dead. You opened up the crime scene without finding a dead body, and then the public found a dead body. That completely fucks up your theory. It's nuts. Like and this kind of thing is not unique to this case, sadly. But let's keep going.
So they had a bit more of a look. They found Laura's purse with her identification and $200 worth of cash inside the purse. Despite finding her purse, Laura and Ashley still were nowhere to be found. Now, it is insane to me that the police came, searched, found Kathy's body, somehow did not find Danny's body despite the fact that he was there. They then decided to investigate into Danny, focus all their efforts into the fact that Danny is definitely the one who did this, killed his wife, kidnapped his 2 daughters, and then within 24 hours opened the crime scene to the public. That is crazy to me. I don't think, like, in a more realistic crime scene that they would have opened up the crime scene so quickly, especially considering they still needed evidence as to what happened to Kathy. I don't know, I just feel like that was really sus and really stupid. And what makes this even worse is the officers from the Craig County Sheriff's Office were completely dismissed as suspects. They weren't even looked into as suspects. They did a polygraph test and then they handed the investigation over to the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigations and basically wiped their hands clean a bit. That was it. They didn't really question them. They didn't really investigate into them. Nothing. They just did a polygraph and that was it. Not even the guy who shot Shane was looked into or hardly questioned. And other than that,
time out on that. Polygraphs, contrary to what a lot of people in a lot of like pop culture or just culture in general, mainstream culture, like popular beliefs, whatever, contrary to what like Law and Order and like all these kind of shows would tell you, polygraphs literally suck. They do not tell you whether someone is lying or not. And you can pass them if you are calm and collected. That's it. That's all you need to do is just literally go in and not be scared and you'll pass it. Like, they're completely bullshit and they're not really admissible in court. So the fact that these people, even though I don't think the police department would have had anything to do with it, especially if they were already in a fight with Danny for a while. I don't see why right now would be the reason that they did something. But that's just me. All right, carrying on.
And other than that, there were literally no suspects in this case. Ashley's boyfriend Jeremy was not a suspect. Laura's parents were not suspects, even though I didn't expect them to be. I don't think they had anything to do with this. There were no other suspects. And that is kind of basically the first theory that I just mentioned, is that the sheriff's department had something to do with this, whether they covered it up or whether they actually had something to do with it themselves. As Danny's brother said, they were actually trying to intimidate him. They told him that they could do whatever they wanted with him and his family, and he couldn't do anything about it. Danny, just days before he was murdered, was planning on filing a lawsuit against the sheriff's department for the death of his son. They shot his son, and they didn't even find his body in their searches when Jay Bible, within 5 minutes of arriving at the scene, could find his body, and they didn't even bother to look into any other leads besides the fact that Danny had done this. That's the only thing they looked into. It was like tunnel vision. All they could see was just Danny. Crime scene was opened way too soon after the investigations, and there was little to no investigations into the sheriff's department at all. Now, I will be the first to admit that I think the sheriff's department did an absolutely terrible job. I think that they should all frigging go to jail for not even bothering with this case. It just seemed like they didn't care at all. But I don't actually think that they had anything to do with it, because I just feel like some things don't really add up with this theory. I mean, first, why would they take Ashley and Laura? They had nothing to do with it. Their beef was with Danny, and it just makes no sense for them to kidnap these girls. Like, why on earth would they just take these girls?
I disagree that it doesn't make any sense. I don't think the police did it. Although, now that I know that he was going to file a lawsuit, or it was suspected that he was about to file a lawsuit, that does go ahead and give some motive, where before I didn't really see motive beyond a parent being mad that the cops killed or shot their kid. Cops know that going in. That's something that cops realize as soon as they pull their weapon, that they're going to be ridiculed and criticized for pulling their weapon. So I don't necessarily think that the police would act upon any threats that a parent's doing. However, a lawsuit, maybe the police would go ahead and act on that. So knowing about the lawsuit definitely does change my opinion a little bit, from like no way they did it to maybe they did. But I really disagree with her in saying that the police had no reason to take the girls, because they absolutely had every reason to take the girls if they did do it. Like, they can't just leave these girls alive to maybe file their own lawsuits and start digging into what happened to their parents. That, like, why would they want to leave these kids there when they could probably easily take them and like sell them off, or take them and do whatever. Like, the police said we could do whatever we want to your family, and there's nothing you can do. Maybe they were being honest. Who knows? And that is a very scary thought, but it could be something that's plausible. Let's keep going.
These girls, it makes no sense. Not to mention, if the sheriff's department did have anything to do with this, why would they open up the crime scene knowing that they killed Danny and didn't dispose of the body? Like, someone literally found his body within 5 minutes, and I feel like that is something that the sheriff's department would try and cover up before opening a crime scene. Like, that seems really low effort even for the sheriff's department. I honestly think the reason that they did such a shitty job is because of their feud with Danny. They were just focusing on him. They wanted to pin him because they didn't like him, and they didn't bother listening or looking to any of the other evidence because they were just like, this dude did it, we hate him, let's find him, let's pin it on him. So they didn't bother, you know, looking for his body properly because they just assumed she was dead and that was that, Danny did it. So I honestly don't think that they set this up or that they killed him because there's too many inconsistencies. I do think that they did a horrible job and that they just didn't care and that they just wanted to focus on pinning Danny as this horrible guy because they didn't like him and possibly didn't want him to file this lawsuit, and he wouldn't have much credibility in filing the lawsuit if he killed his wife and kidnapped his 2 daughters. Now, another possible theory that was brought up is that Danny was a small-time drug dealer and that this was basically a drug deal gone wrong. But again, this theory does not make sense. As Jim Herman from the Sheriff's Department said, the last thing someone who came to murder people based on a drug deal gone wrong would want to do is take these 2 girls. It doesn't make sense why they would want to kidnap them unless, you know, an even bigger theory is they decided to take these girls and traffic them, or, you know, I just feel like if they were going to do that, they would just murder the 2 girls, if anything, because they didn't want them to speak about it. I feel like they wouldn't take the 2 girls, and nothing really fits with this theory. There was no real evidence to point to this theory, and yeah, nothing fits. No one thinks that this is what happened, nor do I. The thing that could make sense about this whole drug thing is that nobody ever found a gun, which I feel like, you know, drug dealers are pretty smart when it comes to like their murders and stuff. Like, they know how to commit crimes. And no one found the gun, no one found these 2 girls. They burnt the house to get rid of any evidence. I mean, when they found Danny's body, apparently it was almost hard to recognize him. So, I mean, it's possible. It's probably the most likely theory out of all the theories that I will tell you, which brings us to the next theory, which is that Ashley Freeman actually did this, murdered her own 2 parents, and then fled alongside Laura Bible. Apparently, at the time of the murders and the disappearances, Ashley and her father did not get along at all, and they hadn't for a while. This apparently caused a lot of conflict in the family, but again, this theory doesn't make sense. First, Laura left behind her purse with her cash in it, which you think if you were fleeing, you would want to take your cash. Second of all, how would these girls have survived with literally nothing and no money to buy food, nowhere to stay? How could they have fled the country without cars, without their license to be able to, I don't know, they couldn't drive. They didn't have anything to be able to flee. They didn't have any money. They had nowhere to stay. It just doesn't make any sense at all. It just seems like an extremely difficult task for these 2 16-year-old girls to just disappear off the face of the planet, try and hide all the evidence of killing Ashley's parents with making a fire, hiding this gun. How would they get the gun? I mean, it just kind of seems unrealistic. Okay, so the last theory, well, this is not really a theory, this is more of like someone literally confessed. This guy named Jeremy Jones, he said that he murdered both Kathy and Danny over a drug debt that his friend owed, and he just did it as kind of like a favor. He says he then took the 2 girls to Kansas, shot them both once in the head, and then dropped them down an abandoned mine. But when investigators went to go see the mine that he said they were at, there was no bodies found there, so they think that this guy was lying because he actually did end up recanting his theory and saying that he didn't kill them and that he only said this so that he could get better food and more phone privileges. So I don't believe this guy's confession at all. Which I know whenever I mention that someone confessed, I get so many comments being like, well, someone confessed, so it was obviously them. There are a lot of reasons that people confess when they did not actually do something, whether it was coerced or whether it was for their own personal gain. So like I said, he literally confessed so that he could get more phone privileges and better food, and that's all there is to it. I don't think that his confession was. And that is it for this case. I know this was a really
all right, cool. So that is it. Like Bella said, that's it for that case. Look at Blake, he's very cute. I'm probably gonna zoom in on him right there. Super cute, sleeping, being a good boy. I will say that case is super interesting. No clear understanding or really ending to what may have happened to Loria, I think is how you pronounce her name, or Ashley. So that's really, really scary. And also Chicago. Commotion going on outside. So I think, long story short, I'm going to go ahead and say that I do think that the two most plausible theories are going to be that there was like a drug debt or something. We do know that the family obviously wasn't super like innocent or anything like that. Obviously they didn't deserve to die, but I'm just saying they could have been involved in some shady stuff. The son got caught stealing a car, so I'm not saying that the family is obviously horrible just because the son stole a car, but I'm saying they're not squeaky clean, so there could be something going on there. So that might be a plausible theory. And then I'm also going to go ahead and actually change my mind about the police theory. And I'm going to say that could be plausible as well, just because the only thing that makes me think that it's not plausible is that they opened the crime scene 24 hours after investigating it and would leave his body there. That's the only thing that doesn't make sense to me. But maybe they are just really stupid or super smart and knew that it would throw off any suspicion on them or something like that. I don't know. Like, there's no putting it past people. So I will go ahead and leave that as one of my maybes. Kind of unfortunate that we don't have an answer to this case, but there are so many cases like this that don't have answers and that are just super, super interesting, and that I would love to go ahead and keep telling you guys and letting you guys know my take on them and letting you guys kind of see what's out there and stuff like that. So that's it for this case. Again, that was Bella Fiore. I will go ahead and leave her stuff down in the description. Thank you guys for watching. Until next time, peace out. Stay safe out there. Keep each other safe. Love you. Bye.